can grow to be a millionaire in all 6 aspects of health. That's right. Every week we share tips to improve your physical, your mental, obviously your financial, your spiritual, your social, and like today's episode, your intellectual health. More than just a big bank account. So today we're focusing on intellectual health and the topic of overconsumption. Are you getting too much knowledge? Is it all right? How do you filter it? All sorts of different things like that. How to improve your intellectual health regarding overconsumption. If you have never seen Millionaires Are Made, this is the show built on the fundamental beliefs that every person you know or every person you meet knows something you don't. Man, I've said that 1,000 times, and this is the first time I've messed it up. Whew! And there's something to be learned from everyone in this big, beautiful world. And today, we got 3 awesome guests with 3 awesome tips that are going to teach us a little bit as well. We are on a mission here to teach the world how to grow into the healthiest, happiest millionaires in all aspects of life. We believe a lot in the teach a man to fish, and we're here to teach the world how to grow to their ultimate self. In the spirit of authenticity, we don't talk about tips or advice before the show. So when our guests come on and they share their knowledge with you, it's going to be the first time we hear it as well. Super excited for this show. We've got some awesome guests coming in. Audience, this is an interactive show. Every one of your 95% of your comments and questions will be aired live on the show, and we will answer them right there. So don't be shy. Feel free to type them in any comments, whatever social media you're watching us on. And on that note, we're going to shout out a few of our followers to thank them so much. On Facebook, Debbie Simmons, you rock. Instagram, Manuela Welton, you're awesome. TikTok, Shauna Williams, and YouTube, Coach Brian. Thank you so much for following us. We love having you guys, and it helps us keep the show going. If you want to be shouted out, hit that follow button or subscribe, however you're watching us. Guests, we are always looking for new guests, and I know you got something to share. If you want to be a guest, we'll drop the link right now. Go apply and see if you can get on one of our shows. We need 6 guests every show, so it's pretty good odds. If you got something to share, which I know you do, go sign up to be a guest right now. And if you are running through life right now a little bit lost, maybe you have a struggle. We all got struggles, and maybe we haven't done an episode on it. But if you have a topic for us, we love topics. Please, please, please go share a topic idea. Tell us what we need to do. We will go out and do all the work, find 3 guests, make them share 3 tips, and help you get through your little rut in life. If you want to hang out one-on-one with me, I love it. I offer free coaching 2 days a week. I would love to sit down and talk with you, have a little coffee, whatever you're going through. I bet you I know someone that can help you if I'm not the one that can do it myself. That link's being dropped right now. If you like what we do, always please hit the share button, the send stars, subscribe, like, wherever you're watching us. Definitely, just like everything else in this world, helps us keep going and keep sharing all of the knowledge we can find. And right before we do sponsors, I want to announce that we do have merchandise. We love seeing you guys wear our hats and shirts and mugs and cups and all that fun stuff. That link's being dropped. Definitely help support the cause and grab a shirt. And before we bring on our first guest, we're going to go over our sponsors. This show is brought to you by the amazing Brian Wright. If you want to get your brand in front of high-level entrepreneurs and personal growth leaders, reach out to Brian at the Ultimate Achievers magazine, where industry icons meet a content-first audience. Brian's super smart, awesome, also can help you publish anything you need. Check him out right now. Next up, we have Veronica Herrera, the life coach and a host of Thrive, Don't Survive podcast, empowering others with emotional regulation tools to transform challenges into thriving success, which all of us could use. Go check Veronica out right now. And our next sponsor is Kim Groshek, who's a 2-time international best-selling author and speaker, helping CEOs or solopreneurs maximize focus, energy, and health. And she has over 30 years of industry leadership expertise. Go check him out and say hi. And our final sponsor for this episode is Francine Julin, a veteran turned author, inspiring families to explore mindfulness together. So if your family unit might have a little burst at the seams, Francine's there for you. Her story and her book spark confidence, calm, and connection for kids and parents alike. Connect with her and check it out. And that officially will bring us to our first guest, who also was just announced as a sponsor, our good friend Brian. Brian, who are you?
Welcome. Well, welcome to me, I guess. I'm glad to be here again. Uh, I do a number of things. I host a weekly internet radio show called Success Profiles Radio, going strong since January 2012. I also publish Ultimate Achievers Magazine, which you
Yep.
just mentioned a little bit ago, been going strong since December 2017. And I help people write their books. And so I help people get their message out to the world in a much bigger way. And that's the crux of who I am.
That is awesome. Yeah, Brian does just about, I don't even know, just about everything. It's hard to get everything you do into a quick 15 seconds blurge. But, Brian, I have an important
Yeah.
question for you, too. And I know you're the right guy
Mhm.
for this with intellectual health. If I wanted to improve my intellectual health regarding overconsumption, what tiny piece of advice do you have for me?
Only gather enough information that you need to make your decision. Because if you keep trying to if you keep trying to gather information, you're going to get into overload, and there's going to be like an intellectual paralysis. And then you'll feel like I have way too many choices, and then you don't decide at all. So only get enough information that you need to make your decision, and then commit to that decision and take action immediately.
All right, I've got 1,000 questions, but we're going to save a lot of them for the panel because I think it's going to come up. But tell me, Brian, how do you know when you have enough information?
Well, I think you don't have to know what 100% of the contingencies are. If you know maybe
Okay.
60% of the things that you actually need to know, you really do have enough information to make a decision. And you can always modify what you're doing along the way. It's like the analogy of build the airplane on your way out of the airplane, or when you're jumping out of an airplane, build your parachute on the way
Right,
down, I
right.
guess is probably the better way to say it. But I think a lot of people get stuck in the idea that they have to have all their ducks lined up before they start, and that is simply not true, because you're never going to have enough information. There will always be more information. The pool of information
Yeah.
multiplies exponentially, and the time period that information multiplies is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So if you think you have to be the 100% expert on something before you start, it's not necessarily quite true. And I'll just tell you, when I started writing books for people, I had written my first book by then, and I was a teacher at a college. I taught English as one of the subjects, and I figured if I could help people write their papers, I could help people write their books. And so I just started declaring to the universe, I help people write their books, and prayed that no one would ask for a sample of my work yet. And thankfully, I got some clients before people started asking me for samples of my work. But just declare it to the universe, make a decision, have enough information, and decide, and just move on, and just declare, this is what I do, and answer people's questions along the way, and it will refine your approach.
Oh man, that's awesome, Brian. Yeah, there's definitely a huge saying, especially in the solopreneur entrepreneur world, of done now is better than perfect later.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so Brian, we'll bring you out the round robin. Or did we go over where you learned this? No.
No, you
Where did you
didn't.
learn this?
Here's where I learned this. I was in my fourth year of college, and I was majoring in speech communication studies, and I was contemplating wanting to teach in high school. Well, I began to realize as I was counting my credits that if I decided not to pursue that and didn't do the student teaching and all the other stuff, I could graduate that year instead of going a fifth year. And so I started weighing the pros and cons of going to graduate school, just finishing my bachelor's that year and going to graduate school. And so I started gathering a bunch of information, and I was on like a 2 or 3 week trek to figure out what I wanted to do. And I finally talked with one of my professors who actually got his advanced degree at the same school I was planning on going to. And I said, I just need to know. And he said, you know what, Brian, I've been watching you marinate over this for a while. I think you really have enough information to decide. I think you really do know what you want to do. And if you make the decision and you learn stuff later that would have made your decision different, don't beat yourself up because you didn't know that then. Just gather enough information and then just make the decision. He says, I think you know in your heart what you want to do. So just do it.
Yeah, your gut plays a
It
little bit
does.
into it too, huh? Um, Awesome. Thank you
Mhm,
so much, Brian. I am very, very excited for the
mhm,
round robin now. I can't wait to see what the heck
mhm.
we talk about. All right, we're going to move on to our next guest. Our next guest is Jimmy. Jimmy, tell me, who are
I'm a
you?
professional keynote speaker, autism advocate, live streamer, and podcaster. Been doing it for my business been up and running for 8 years. My podcast been running up and for five. I wish the podcast came first before the business, to be honest. It would sound more cooler. Uh, my business, actually, when I started, was a self improvement project, and then it grew into something even more, which was really crazy as hell.
I love that when you don't plan it and you're just doing stuff, and then all of a sudden you're like, "What just happened?" Oh shit! Yeah, I guess that's kind of how this one started. This one, yeah, I wouldn't even call this one a business yet, though. It's just a fun hobby. All right, Jimmy, I got a very important question for you. If I wanted to improve my intellectual health regarding overconsumption, what tiny piece of advice do you have for me?
My tiny piece of advice would I use a lot of different blocker tools uh, to keep information at bay at certain times. So, quick example. Uh, So like at certain times of the day, I might like block social media or give myself a total, like an hour maybe on all the platforms that I have on my phone or on my devices. So I'm not just continuously to squirrel and whatnot. Uh, if it's not just social media, it might just be like my reading tools like Google News or whatnot. Uh, I set up to do stuff different, block different times out, just so I don't get over too consumed with everything. Because when I get too consumed with everything, I'm like, geez, my autistic brain is just like, it starts to shut down and become like, did I become brain dead or something? I'm not sure.
I feel that sometimes too. Oh, what do they call it? Productivity
I
paralysis, I
believe
think is the
that's
terms
correct.
nowadays. Where you're like, nope, I'm gonna do
Exactly.
nothing. Jimmy, where on your life journey did you learn
Uh,
that tip?
I actually learned that honestly, growing up in public school. Uh, my teachers in special education always told me I need to break stuff up into smaller chunks. And then learning more about being autistic, I took it upon myself to learn about different blocker tools out there, a lot of free ones, a lot of paid ones. Gotta find which one's right for you. Some of them I had to go with the paid ones because I did not trust myself with the free ones.
Okay, all right. That's actually that's a good point. You do the paid ones, you don't trust the free ones because I pretty much do the free everything. So that's a valid point. Awesome, Jimmy. We're gonna move on to our next guest, and we'll bring you right back out for our round robin. Thank you so much. Next up, we've got our coach Brian coming in. Coach Brian, tell us, who are you?
Hello, hello. I am Coach Brian Parana. I married my high school sweetheart. We're 19 years in. Fortunate to have that life partner. We have four kids together. We travel the world. We've been in all 50 states. We're on to all seven continents, multiple continents and countries now. But as a professional, I've been 23-ish years or so in the health, nutrition, fitness industry. I've worked from little kids, middle schools, all the way up to old, young, old, healthy, sick, chronically ill. I've had the pleasure of working with an Olympian, a two-time Olympian, a CrossFit world champion. And what I do now, I have the Call to Rise. It's a 100-day men's transformation program. It's really about dropping 20, 30 pounds in that time frame, but really calling a better leader, confidence, energy back to that man so he can lead in his life.
Awesome. Coach Brian, after the show, I got a contact I want to
Yes.
connect you with,
Thank
so
you.
don't let me forget that. But during the show, I've got a very important
Yes.
question for you. If I wanted to improve my intellectual health regarding overconsumption, what tiny piece of advice would you
Yes,
give me?
I'm going to go with we need to spot AI content. It's prevalent everywhere. And if you're paying attention, then you can make better informed decisions whether you should even consume the content in the first place. I think a lot of people are going to start seeking out more authentic relationships and human contact, especially with the onset of AI coming on board, and they want that human contact. So we can see it in a variety of different ways, from the language, emojis, a double dash, so two dashes together make a thicker dash. You can see it in the images, a voice, the fonts that are getting used in images. It's everywhere, and I use some AI to help leverage different areas of business, but I'm a real person and I'm not making duplicate an AI Brian to do YouTube videos. That's just not going to work.
So let me ask you this. What do I want to ask you? I've got a question for sure somewhere in this head. All right. So yeah, you said a YouTube Brian that does it. So now, would you use AI to create? So you're saying not an AI to create the content, but what about an AI to publish it, edit it, and do
Yes,
that kind
if
of
we're
stuff? How
talking
do you feel
about
about that?
easier ways to systematize, automate a business, yeah, that makes total sense. That's what we do
Okay.
anyways, right? And you're seeing the big major businesses do that. How do they simplify a more of a lean, scalable process? So I would definitely look to do the same in those areas. But as far as, say, creating content or connecting with humans, or creating, say, emails and such, I don't want ChatGPT writing all my emails, because if I just copy and paste, and you literally
Okay.
see it everywhere now when you look, and it's just inauthentic, and immediately takes whoever that was down a notch. I got an email from a guy the other day. He said, "Send me. I've got the ultimate supplement stack for health, and reply stack, and I'll send it over to you." I was just curious, so I did, and it was literally a chat. I bet you the Chat GPT prompt was, "What's the best supplement stacked for men over 40?" and turn it into a PDF. And it was literally a copy and paste that got sent to me. It's like, wow, this is disappointing. No one's going to take boron as a supplement, is what I thought. The takeaway, it had this huge list of all these vitamins and stuff, but it wasn't, you could just tell it was manufactured from AI.
The fascinating part is there may be a lot of people that don't tell, and then they're
Right.
paying for someone else to search on Chat
Right.
GPT, which
It's sad.
I mean, I guess that means that personal coaches are going to probably become more and
Yep.
more needed, right? You're going to need someone that actually can see you, talk to
Right.
you, be human. But the crazy thing is, AI also may be providing that in the next 10 years. I mean, as AI
Yeah.
evolves,
It's going to evolve.
it might be able to
You need to work with it, right?
yeah, you might be able to have like your heart rate
Yep.
monitor or a smartwatch that it ties to, and it can
Oh,
be
yeah.
like,
Yep.
oh,
Yeah, very much so. I'll see clients, they'll send me
that's
their
gonna be wild.
Strava updates, and there's an AI synopsis of how they performed in comparison to all their other training, whether they did better, they did worse. There was a middle point in their 2-hour bike ride that there was more strain. That's really helpful to leverage AI that way. We want to work with it in an intelligent way and not just default to AI takeover. Not that Terminator or something isn't gonna happen, but we just don't need it to just take over life.
Yeah. All right, Brian, or Coach Brian, where on your life journey did you learn
I
this
would
tip?
say that's just observation. I try to be very observationally aware to make choices for my business and my life, and how to use AI or just the internet in general. Because we do have, I love what the other guys said too. So there's so much access to information, and you want to make sure you're getting the right information and not fake news, because it's incredibly easy to put out there and persuade people to into the storyline of whatever someone's narrative is, and that can be dangerous.
Yeah, that's very true. AI is
Powerful, but
definitely part of overconsumption, man.
it's
It's
yeah,
gonna be weird.
agreed.
All right, Coach Brian, we're gonna
All right.
bring out everyone else and start the round robin off. Holy cow! So we have a few questions we're gonna get started with right off the bat. Um, Perfect. So we got one off of TikTok. All right, overconsumption. So somebody, I don't remember who it was. Um, Somebody was talking about relationships. Oh, I think it was you, Coach Brian, talking about your 19 years in a
Yeah.
relationship, right? So we have a question. They say that finding a partner is easier with fewer choices. What are your guys' thoughts on that and the overabundance of, I guess,
Sure.
Tinder and all the ways to find a partner? A lot of overconsumption. How do you weed through that? And Coach Brian, if you've been with someone for 19 years, you're probably going to be very hopeful right now.
Well, number one is just like Brian said, and I love the name Brian, of course. But just as he said, is that you have to put it out into the universe. When you are looking for any opportunity, the more specific you are and you share that into the world, the more that the world is going to reflect that back to you. So if you want a specific look, the height, activity level, the type of profession, you can target in a sense that type of a profile to get put into more of what you would like to say, I guess, sort through in terms of options if you're on any of these apps, right? Because then they'll pull up people and you have to then go through, am I physically attractive to this person? Because at the base level of any human connection, has to be some physical connection. And then the intellectual connection, they balance you out, and those characteristics that come in personality and getting to know someone and not just swiping left or right on them from an initial 20-second scan. So I would say that is be very specific with what it is you want to call out to attract what you're looking for.
Awesome. Brian or Jimmy, you guys want to add to that or move on to the next question?
I'm good. I mean, I think he nailed it.
I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next question is, okay. So this was Brian. You were talking about um, when you said the word 60% is what I remember, but guess the question is, your gut feeling can help determine decisions. How much information do you need on top of that to know it's the right decision?
I think you need to assess what the risk is, what can go right, what can go wrong. I think that's really important too. And if what can go wrong outweighs what can go right, then you probably should reconsider whether you do the thing or not. And I think also, who are you doing that thing with? That's also super important. The right opportunity with the wrong people will fail most heinously, as Bill and Ted would say in their excellent adventure movie. But I think just know enough to get going. And if you have an idea of how to get started, sometimes the path will reveal itself as you continue.
Fantastic, fantastic. Jimmy, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I wanted to say that I had kind of firsthand experience with some people I had to cut out of my life due to certain things. Not going to name any of that stuff, but uh, I know I didn't want to be around those people anymore, so I had to make decisions and cut them out of my life.
That makes sense. So let's go a little more into it. So you have a gut feeling, right? I think this is the right decision, but I'm not sure. You start doing some research and maybe using AI. How can we tell what point? I mean, I guess it's going to depend on how strong your gut feeling is, but at some point, when do you just make that decision and hope it's right? Or, I mean, Brian, you told us not to go all the way to 100%. Like, that's going to be too much info. It's going to take too long. You're going to probably be skewed. Out there's There's information on both sides of everything. You can be very well convinced of any fact nowadays. When do we know to say yes or no? When do we know what point to make that decision?
I think what you need to do also is ask the right people or get your information from the right people. If you have a coach who's been there, done that, and is still doing it, that's the best place to start, because sometimes they will point out all the landmines that you don't see ahead of you. They'll say, well, you're going to run into this and this and this and this, and are you equipped to handle that? Or do you have the temperament to do it? I think at some point you just, by faith, say, let's give this a try and see what happens.
At some point, more information hopefully helps your
Yeah.
gut feeling, and then you just go with it. All right. We got to
Because I think
all
you
right,
reach
we
a
got
point-
one
you reach
last
a point
question.
where
Yeah, go ahead.
okay. I was just going to say, at some point you're gathering so much information that people begin to wonder, is he actually going to do something or not? Because then you feel like a fool if you keep talking about it and never do it.
Yeah, that's a good point too. All right, last question before we go to our daily challenge. So overconsumption. I mean, all they screamed was COVID. So I guess let's talk about overconsumption and COVID. We had, one side, the pro-vaccines screaming all the science, this and this, and then you had the anti-vaxxers screaming all this and this, and then you had a billion people in between, and you could probably find science for any side of it and figure out what you want. How would you go about that? How did you guys go about that to figure out where the overconsumption was, too much information? How did you make a decision? All they said was COVID, so I guess just relate it to COVID somehow.
Well, the people that are pushing their points of view, you have to think about who's benefiting the most financially from saying what they're saying. Follow the money. There's an agenda, always an agenda.
I would agree with that. Even in my
Okay.
world of, say, health and fitness, nutrition, all, you go to Netflix and all the documentaries, and it's really easy to get swept into an hour of a produced product that gets to an outcome, and you have to work backwards of what's the underlying agenda of this piece of content that's been manufactured and created to get to the end of it in a certain way. So I would definitely agree with Brian there.
And remember that documentaries are still paid for by somebody. They are not
Yes.
fact.
I would also say,
Jimmy, your thoughts?
say that on how I looked at it was I went to my doctor to discuss with him the pros and cons and how effective it would be for me. Like I discussed like what the side effects are of shots and whatnot, and he told me in my case scenario certain things. Not going to go all into it because I'm not persuading anybody here. But so I took what he said in consideration because I trust my doctor, and plus then so I would always say trust your doctor versus especially if you like your doctor. And do not trust your insurance company doctor because they'll care about money and I have to say one other thing. Insurance companies, their motto is basically you're worth more dead than alive. So
Wow. So essentially, have a trusted source, and that information from that source has a higher ranking to be consumed, I guess. Does that sound like what you were saying, Jimmy?
Though you put it in better words than I did.
Trusted source. So trust your trusted source. The information is better to consume than a random AI prompt for stack
Of course.
on an email. Awesome. All right, guys. So we are at the point in our show where we need to come up with our daily challenge. This is a task or series of tasks that must take less than 5 minutes per day, must cost $0, and must be available to anyone in the world that helps us improve our intellectual health regarding overconsumption. What thoughts do you guys have?
I'll jump in first and throw it out there. So
No pressure.
the simple task to do is before you open up a social media, because that's where most people are going these days, is pause and think, what is the outcome that I want from this experience? For me, when I go in there, I'll post something of value, try and add value to the people who follow me. And then I'm 3 swipes and I'm out, because I quickly realize that I'm just ultimately wasting time, and I had to be very conscious with a large family. That in and of itself costs a lot of time and effort and energy, and the more that I spend in an app looking at things that don't matter, and my content diet is full of people dancing on TikTok, or is it full of entrepreneurs, business leaders, self-development, and they're speaking to me about, just like Brian said, of a mentor, and help you understand some of the processes and the things that you need to think to move you through. So I would say just pause, think through, what do I want out of this experience, so that 30 minutes don't go by and you didn't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I'd say,
Anything else you guys think would be a good daily challenge for us for reducing overconsumption?
I think sometimes overconsumption isn't just gathering information to do what you want to do, but sometimes overconsumption is consuming the wrong things that distract you from your goals in the first place. So be mindful of how much time are you scrolling online? How much time are you wasting doing things that don't take you any closer to what you need? Because I think that's the thing we didn't really talk about today, but I think that's probably just as important as trying to gather too much information before making a decision, is gathering the wrong stuff that takes you away from even thinking about the decision that you're supposed to make.
How do we turn that into a daily challenge?
I would say set a timer and only allow yourself X number of minutes or an hour scrolling social media for the entire day, or allow yourself only 1 hour of television for the entire day, or whatever that vice happens to be, so that you have more time to do the things that you know you need to do.
I like to second that and put a little spin on it. Like I said in the beginning, have a blocker tool, and where so there's like a lot of free blockers out there. So I have some set for my browser, that set for that like syncs across my couple of my devices, that sets for only 1 hour on social media across all the platforms. There's some apps that let you say specific apps of each for a timer for each app, but I don't do it that way, because then I was like, oh, so if I have an hour of Facebook, an hour of Instagram, an hour of this, hour of that, you're going to eventually get 7 hours of how many ever apps you have and accounts you have. So I put an hour across everything that I did for that. And I also make sure, I just found this other one that I came across, that every like 30 minutes it tells me stand up, take a break, stretch, and whatnot, because I find I get a lot of tension in a lot of my body if I sit too long, and I get very overwhelmed if I'm just sitting all day trying to figure out just one little thing that might be bothering something in my business, and I'm like, how do I fix this crap? I don't know how to fix this crap. And then I'm spending all day on it. And then when finally the day finishes, and it's like, did today happen? Did I enter the Twilight Zone somewhere? I'm not sure.
I feel that.
Can I pull mine back?
Awesome.
Can I pull mine back real quick? So mine was good. It aligns with everyone else's. How about this? If let's make a bargain with yourself, especially going in line with what I do for a living. an equal trade in time. However much time you spend in the social media scrolling over consumption or just consumption period, you move your body.
All right, I like to move the body. Okay.
Way to go. Just just like literally just up one all of us. Thanks a lot, Coach Brian.
This is what I'm all about, is empower people to do better for themselves.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, that's good. Okay. So we've got this for our daily challenge. So we're going to use a social media timer, like Jimmy, and I think Coach Brian might have said it too, and reduce by 5% per day. So over the next week, that'll be like a 35% decrease. Well, I guess technically it would be a little bit less. But anyway, so 5% less than the day before. That's actually going to be, that alone is probably pretty powerful right there. I bet a lot of people will start realizing, holy shit, I spent a lot of time on socials. And then one of, I think it might have been Brian that said this, but we'll set a timer for a set time to do research for your tasks. So you don't get lost doing other things, doing other tasks. So if you have to go do a research or you have to go, respond to emails, we're going to try to set a timer for a task and just say, hey, you have 20 minutes to go respond to as many emails as you can and then move on. And then at the end, we added in a movement timer. So you have to go move every 15 minutes or 30 minutes, however you so choose, or move during your research. So I guess we're all buying treadmills and standing desks.
Ruh-roh. Wait, I want to say one thing about that. You don't even need a standing desk. I have 2 shoe boxes that my computer's sitting on that is just on right now, so you don't even need a standing desk. Beat that standing desk.
Nice, I love it.
Yeah, I have a cardboard box that
Perfect.
my computer's on.
I got cardboard boxes too. That's all. Cool. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming out. We're going to wrap up the show. Big thank you to Brian, Jimmy, Coach Brian. Thank you guys so much. And as always, thank you guys, audience, for watching the show. Conclusion, holy cow, overconsumption. And I think it's only going to get worse. Coach Brian brought up AI, and I think AI is going to be insane. It already is starting to be there. And so it's going to be tough to figure out what you consume and what you don't consume. Social media, even just internet, blogs, emails. I think emails you're going to be getting 10 times as many emails as you used to. Text messages are going to be crazy. Consumption is going to be wild, and we're going to have to be mindful of it. Got an awesome daily challenge. We just went over it, so hopefully you can join us with that as well. And that's about it. Don't forget to follow